Well, yeah.
Yes, again, here we go. In case you missed the first set, friends, the music never stopped into easy answers and back into the music never stopped. Dire Wolf, El Paso with Bobby on acoustic guitar, Road Jimmy, Jack Straw, and Mississippi Half Step with a beautiful cruise to a quiet ending there. So that's what you
Yeah.
get if you sign up for set two of this thing. You can go back and watch set one after the show's over.
Yeah. In the meantime, I'm Gary Lambert, and over there is David Gans. And this is a little thing they've been letting us do for this whole tour, to our great delight, called Dead Air with Lambert and Gans. It's our halftime show, and we get to talk to wonderful guests, and we'll be bringing one out in just a moment. And yeah, as ever, some of my favorite moments in that set provided by Jeff Clementi, and Jeff Clementi interacting with John Mayer. And yeah, as you mentioned, that little soft landing on Mississippi Hefta with John just playing some gorgeously bluesy guitar there was exquisite.
I don't want to get all poetic and shit, but I have been just really knocked out by the quality of John Mayer's guitar playing on this tour. He's using the whammy bar, a tone bending device, a mechanical tone bending device, in really fabulous ways, and he's bending like entire chords. I've seen Richard Thompson do that in mind blowing ways, and what he's doing here is just really it just strikes me as really unique and a really nice approach to playing in this. And with, he's surrounded by these amazing musicians. So it's all just coming up just beautiful to my ear.
Yeah, the whammy bar, of course, it summons to mind, old surf records and stuff like that, and has been used quite a bit in rock for kind of pyrotechnic effect. And here John is using it really to serve the context and tell the stories, and that's the first thing I look for in an instrumentalist, is to provide an extension to the lyrics and the text of the song. So mission accomplished in
Well,
that case for sure.
I'm married to a painter, and it makes me think of looking up close at the paintings of Claude Monet, these beautiful brushstrokes that are full of color inside them and stuff. So he's using two and three notes to play these textures and melodies, and it's just really lovely. Hey, we should bring our guest in and talk with her ASAP. We've got some time to kill here before the second set. Well, maybe we should talk about livedead.co first. Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, real quickly, we've filled you in on that quite a bit already, so you probably know the drill. But if you are watching this on the free preview, you can avail yourself of this. You can avail yourself of the whole tour, or just individual shows, pick and choose, grab them a la carte by going to livedead.co. If you came in the middle of a show, you can go back and watch it and have 48 hours to watch it over and over again. You can go back and see previous shows on the tour that you haven't maybe seen yet. And I'll tell you, I love being at live shows, but this certainly has its advantages in terms of a little less wear and tear on these old bones, but also getting to enjoy the music in such detail and in such an undistracted way, and see the visual components of the music, the musicians interacting, the hands on the strings, the sticks on the skin, and all that stuff. So, and of course, the crew that's bringing this to you visually and orally is doing such a fantastic job. So do go to livedead.co, find out how you can check this out. And also, nugs.net has the full archive of Dead and Company going back, I think, to their first full year of touring, which was 2016. And so you can download choice recordings of shows or have them available for streaming, and also avail yourself to Nugsnet's great library of many other artists: Pearl Jam, Bruce Springsteen, Wilco. A lot of your favorites are in there, and it's really a fantastic resource. So thanks to nugs.net, both for letting us be here and for providing this wonderful music. And now let's bring in our fabulous guest.
All right. Well, Rosie McGee she went to like the second or third acid test out at Muir Beach and wound up becoming a member of the tribe almost instantaneously that night. And she's been documenting all of this with a camera for all of these decades. And she's working on a new book, a coffee table book of all of her Grateful Dead photos. And we're going to have a little visual sample of that in a few minutes. But please say hello to Rosie McGee.
Hi there. I'm really happy to
Hi.
be here. Haven't seen you
How'd you
Hi,
guys
like
in
the
a
Rosie.
first set?
long time. I loved it. It was fun. It was fun. I love those guys. They get better every time I see them. I don't see all of the shows, but every time I do see them, I've only seen them live one time when they came to Portland, which is where I live. But boy, I like that. Jack Straw and Dire Wolf were my favorites on that set. And like you said, the instrumental interplay, I just love it. Those guys are great,
Wonderful.
keeping the legacy alive.
And Rosie speaks from experience because, as David said, she was there way back at the
Way
beginning.
back.
Not just documenting with a camera, but you can see a considerable amount of Rosie dancing on stage with the Grateful Dead over the years as well.
This is true.
This was back when concert security was an unknown quantity at that time, and people, well, friends of the band, of course, had access to the stage, but there were all kinds of people behind the amps watching the show from there, and people like Rosie, who could not resist the impulse to dance, and I can certainly sympathize, would get right up there, and you'd see him on stage dancing. It was a wonderful component of the shows back in the day, wasn't it?
It was an amazing experience for me. Like you said, I couldn't help myself. I was compelled. I mean, who wouldn't, to go out there and be in that circle of magic, like right there, right there. And I did
Wow,
it for
yeah,
years. And
I can
I was
imagine.
very, very lucky that they let me do that. They had a few rules, like don't trip on anything, don't block our view of each other, and other than that, it was go for it. And
Right
Wow.
now,
So
I
we
really
should also
appreciated
mention
it.
that you published a wonderful memoir called Dancing with the Dead, which has lots of photos in it, and also your personal story, which I found fascinating. So I would
Thank
recommend
you.
that highly to people in the audience who might not have heard of
There you
Rosie
go.
McGee before.
There she is,
Oh,
dancing
there
on
it
the
is.
stage.
yep,
It's
always
a
handy to have a
memoir. It's
visual
not,
aid.
it's photos and stories of her time. Just that being one of the people busted when they came to 710 Ashbury and busted the house. That story alone is worth the price of admission.
That's right. And
Yeah, I,
I
I
love,
think many of you have probably seen that photo many times of I'm handcuffed to Bobby coming down the
yes,
steps at 710, on my way
yeah.
to jail.
I remember Jerry in his famous Rolling Stone interview with Jan Wenner and Charles Reich described that picture. He said, they were talking about the Grateful Dead having been in the very first issue of Rolling Stone for having gotten busted, and Jerry was like speaking almost gleefully of it. He said, "There's this picture, uh, Bobby coming down the stairs handcuffed to Rosie. It was just stunning."
I didn't feel stunning at the time, but anyway, there's a whole story about that in my first book. Absolutely.
Worth reading.
Absolutely. Now
Yes.
tell us about this new book that you're working on and how people can join in the crowdfunding campaign to support
Well,
it, which I've already
the
done,
the
by the way.
yeah, the new book, I've been spending 6 months going through every single photo that I ever took of those guys, and this is over a 25-year period. There were big gaps, where I went off and did other things, but uh, I ended up with over 350 first cut, and then I kept adding to it, and there's almost 400 photos that made the cut to
Nice.
be in the book, which is a lot. But I don't want to ever go back and look at those archives again. I wanted to look at every single picture, and say, okay, I'm done. But anyway, it's going to be a full color hardbound coffee table book, and it's going to be beautiful. I'm working with a book designer that's designed this gorgeous templates to put the photos in the pages, and you'll see when you get the book. And like you said, the book will only be available this time for the first printing to people who are backers of my Kickstarter. It's going to be a first printing Kickstarter only.
Oh,
So
very
you
good. You
can,
did a very smart thing in setting up your campaign. I signed up to buy 2 copies of the book, which is
right.
a better pledge level than just buying one. And it's a really smart thing because then I'll have a second signed copy from the Kickstarter that I can use as a gift in the
As a
future.
gift. I thought, I agonized. You know me, David. I'm just, methodical, and I agonized over what are people going to want? No, how much should I charge? Blah blah blah. And I came up with that, that people are going to want to gift other people. So one of the what they call rewards, which is you pledge to the Kickstarter, and you get a reward when the book is finally published.
Right, right.
And there's different levels, but the third level down, the very first level that has a book, is $59 for a unsigned book, and then it goes up from there. Some of them I added on prints. You can get the book and prints and so forth. But just go to Kickstarter.com, put in my name in the search, and it's got more information than you probably want to know about the whole
And you
thing.
can also, if you just do a Google image search and Rosie McGee's name, you'll find an amazing collection of photos of hers that are already out there in the world. And
That's
it's not concert stuff. It's, in fact, there's not nearly very much concert stuff, really. It's
no.
mostly like offstage family stuff, right?
Well,
Traveling with the band
I
and all.
call them when I was doing my first book, which has 200 photos in it. Um, I came to realize that I thought of myself as a documentary photographer. That I was just I started documenting my life with a camera when I was 12. I just took pictures of everything, and lucky me, I ended up being with the Grateful Dead in the '60s, and then I had a camera. So I was documenting that. And then when I sat down and looked through my pictures for the first book, I realized almost all of the photos are of one or two people, unless it's like the whole group, which is a few pictures. But they're really intimate portraits. They're not so
Yeah.
much, there's concert. I was never a concert photographer, although I did take pictures of concerts. But you'll see there'll be, going through when we show the video that'll show some photos. You'll see, for example, looking through Bob's guitar neck to Jerry, and it's framing Jerry, and it's a picture of Jerry, even though there's all this other stuff going on. And a lot of the photos are like that.
Hey,
So,
why don't we take a look at this little slideshow you sent us over? We have a
okay,
three-minute
let
roundup
me
of
tell you what
Rosie's
that
images I
is.
almost forgot about.
Okay. Uh, when it starts out, what you see first is the beautiful cover that's been designed for my book. And then it's just a 3-minute show that is a sampler that goes through the years that are in the book. And it starts with one of the first pictures I ever took of them, which is at Troopers Hall, March 25th, 1966. And it ends with the last set of pictures that I took, which was at Shoreline between May 10th and 12th of 1991. So it's just a sampler, and it's chronological, and just enjoy it. And then we can talk about it when we get back.
Let's see it.
Let's
Let's give a shout out to Justin John from the Garcia Birthday Band for that lovely soundtrack.
Yeah, that was lovely. So what do you want to
Rosie,
know?
well, if I can just make a couple of comments, there are several photos in there that have enormous personal resonance for me because they were taken at my very first encounter with the Grateful Dead, Central Park in New York, May 5th,
May 5th,
1968.
1968, right.
So every time I see those pictures, it just takes me right back to that moment when my brain kind of got kidnapped for 50 years or
Where
so.
were you in the
And
audience?
I was pretty far. There were some, as I recall, there were benches, there were actual seats going back a certain way, and I was standing right behind the rows of benches, so not all that
Oh,
close to the
wow.
stage. I've looked for myself in the crowd in every known shot of that concert and never found myself. But that shot of Jerry with his back to the audience, playing that beautiful gold top Les Paul. I actually chose that one when Jerry passed, and I wrote a piece for the memorial issue of the Grateful Dead Almanac. That was the first picture I went to because
Oh,
it had
thank
such
you.
meaning for me.
Yeah.
My wife Rita is in one of those pictures from 5/5/68. She was a teenage girl sitting at the side of the stage.
Oh, the
Small
picture
freaking world.
that's the whole wide shot of the
I think
Jefferson
so. Yeah.
Airplane. Yeah,
I think
Yeah,
it
so.
was a
Yeah.
free concert that day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great,
So
great
I
day.
look at every time I look at something like that, it's like watching my life flash before my eyes a little bit.
Right.
But this book has been a dream of mine for a long, long time. And even when I was doing the first book, it was. Um, it's not that it was a compromise, but it was all I could do at the time. What had happened was I wanted to do a photo book, and I had absolutely no idea. I didn't have any money for one thing, but I also had no idea how to go about it. And I was at the time I was living at the Grand Canyon where I was working, and this friend of mine who was a huge deadhead and kept pulling stories out of me, against my will to tell me a story, Okay, okay. Well, finally, he said, he's like pounded his fist on the table and said, "You got to write these stories down. You owe it to us."
ah,
And that just went, well, he's like 20 years younger than me. And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, it's a legacy, and you just got to tell the stories." And so it turned into a melding of the stories with the photos. But at the time when I did a print edition, I had to do the photos in black and white, just the nature of the kind of printing that I did and the budget. And so now I'm a part of what's going to be cool about this book is that all of those photos that were in my first book and then some that were originally taken in black and in color but had to be printed in black and white are now going to be restored to their glorious color, and
that's
that makes me
wonderful.
really happy. It's going to be just full color. And then moving on, there's about 40% of the book is photos that have not been published, and some of them are scattered in the early pictures. But then there's this whole section. I went away for a number of years, and then I came back. In '85, I started taking pictures, and there's a whole chunk of photos 85, 86, and 91 that there's only one or two photos that have been published out of that whole, you know, bunch of them. So it's going to be great.
I have to say that in all the years I've known you, I've appreciated your Grand Canyon photography as much as your Grateful Dead photography.
Well,
The
thank you.
years you were down there, you would post such amazing images. Is any of that stuff available? Do you have like an online
Oh, yeah.
gallery where people can
Yeah.
see
I
some
have
of
an
that stuff?
online
Please tell.
gallery. Sure. I have an online gallery. It's rosiemcgee.smugmug, smugmug.com. And there's three galleries. There's Grateful Dead, where you can order prints of all of those, a lot of photos. I keep putting more of them up, and I'll be doing that from this book pretty soon. And there's a section on Grand Canyon photos, and there's a gallery for my Oregon scenics because it's so gorgeous up here. I just go everywhere and take pictures. Funny thing is, though, I have never sold a print of a Grand Canyon photo or an Oregon print. It's all
Interesting.
Grateful Dead 24/7 on my site, it's great. It's great.
I have a feeling that pictures of the Grand Canyon are pretty thick on the ground, and that the Grand Canyon
Oh,
spectacular, large-scale photo industry is probably pretty well sewed up by some major players, you know?
well, I know. And I just put them up there so people can look at them. I don't care if you buy them or not. They're just up there. And I spent 7 years working at the Grand Canyon and living there. And that was as much of a privilege as the years that I spent with the Grateful Dead to be, to see it every single day and to be able to. I was never much of a hiker or anything, but yeah,
Right.
it's
I remember you
wonderful.
posted some photos of the mule drivers and talked about spending time with them and getting
They
to know
were my
them a little bit.
buddies. It's kind of weird. There's a connection to rock and roll in that, which is very obscure, but I'm obscure sometimes. And that is that the the mule wranglers were the people that I got along with the best out of all of the employees at the canyon because they were just like roadies. I mean, I always got along with the crew like really well. And I fell in with the mule wranglers, and it felt the same. They're rough and tumble and they swear and they whatever, but hearts of gold and would do anything for me. I mean, every time I moved 6 times while I lived at the canyon. And that just, company housing, you go up as you get a better job. And it was always the cowboys. Tell us when to be there and we'll be there. And they'd come with their pickups and it's done. So anyway,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Fabulous.
Hey,
Oh,
Rosie,
Say more.
one thing I wanted to say was, yeah, I didn't get to know you till pretty late in the game, maybe the 90s, maybe even post Grateful Dead, early
yeah.
2000s, in there. And it's given me special pleasure to go back over the incredible wealth of Grateful Dead photos, and they were associated with some really iconic photographers, Jim Marshall and Herbie Green and Gene Anthony and Baron Woolman documented them. And I've been so delighted to find that so many of my favorite Grateful Dead pictures are by you.
Well, thank you.
Of course, the Central Park one, and one that I noticed in the slideshow was, I guess, an outtake from the session for the gatefold photo of Live Dead, which has always been a favorite of mine.
Yeah, there's a,
With Jerry
yeah, I was
Jerry
just
wearing
going to say
that's
there's a little chapter. It's a very small chapter because there's not a lot of photos, but I have a chapter on the Live Dead outtakes, and then I show the actual one that was used. What they did was I sent a color slide down to Warner Brothers, and they turned it into black and white for the album for whatever reason,
right.
and then they never sent the slide back. So I don't have the color slide or the color version of it, but I have all these outtakes. And I don't know. I'm sure a lot of the people that are watching have seen the photo. And there's a guy with his face down in the dirt in front.
Right.
There's this body. And that's Jack Cassidy. He was there at rehearsal. And, it's not a mystery. I've said it many times, but if anybody wondered, Jack Cassidy was at rehearsal hanging out with the band, and we got a phone call that Warner Brothers needed a group photo like yesterday. And so I stopped the rehearsal. I mean, it's the only time I would ever stop the Grateful Dead while they're playing.
Right.
Not something you do lightly, but I just, the light was fading. I only had 20 minutes. I said, hey, you guys, grab grab furniture, grab stuff. Let's go outside. We'd get this done. And they did. And Jack was with us, and he came and he was in, half the photos. He threw himself down on the ground and said, "Hey, put me in the picture."
That that
Anyway,
that that little mystery made that photo in so many ways, because I didn't find out the identity until I knew you years later. And people said,
yeah,
"Oh, maybe it's Bear, maybe it's one of the roadies," and hearing it was Jack was just delightful. One of the other
yeah.
little arcane details of that shirt that I personally love is the Mr. Natural T-shirt that Jerry is wearing was silk screened and given to him as a gift by my best friend from high school backstage at the pavilion at Flushing Meadow. So when we opened Live Dead
Wow.
and saw Mr. Natural on Jerry, we just we threw a little party. So thank
Well,
you
and
for
I
that one
thought I
too.
was obscure. My goodness.
That's very cool. Hey, we're sort of beginning to think about the possibility of getting on with set 2 of the Dead and Company show. So I need to remind you that if you're watching this free preview right now on YouTube or Facebook, Nugsnet they're going to show you the beginning of the second set, but they'd really like you to go pay a visit to livedead.co and look at your options for buying the stream in HD or 4K, or also buying the audio feeds. There's a ridiculously good quality audio, and I believe high-res audio downloads are available of all of these live shows. And they're, as you can tell from even just from the previews, the mixes are fantastic. The audio quality is ridiculous, and the band is fucking amazing. So livedead.co to find out how you can become a paying customer of nugs.net.
Are we like seconds away or minutes?
We don't
We
know. That's
never
why we're
know.
vamping.
Oh,
For
okay.
Yeah,
blood.
we
Well,
You
I
have
would
more to
like
say,
to,
Rosie?
yeah, if you would let me, I'd like to read the
Sure.
last paragraph of my preface that I've written
sure.
for the book, which tells what I want to say. Okay, this book of photographic memories exists for me at a three-way intersection. It's an expression of my photographic art. It preserves a historical record of a beloved band. And most important to me, it's my heartfelt love letter to a group of people with whom I shared a wild, unique, and wonderful time, never to be seen again except in photos and films.
Wow. That's great.
Lovely.
And that's how I feel. No, I'm
Well,
really thrilled to be doing this finally, and the Kickstarter's taken off with a like a rocket, which I'm very grateful. It's lovely to have so many people interested in having this book, and it needs to be, aside from it being my stuff, it's an archive. It's an archival thing, and it needs to be out there in the world. That's how I feel about it.
oh
So
yeah, it's part of a shared cultural history, and an
yeah,
amazingly adventurous and thrilling time in art and music. Uh, and those pictures are so evocative of that, like
It's
what
true.
the sense of discovery that was present in that scene and that music is hard to describe, but seeing the pictures somehow really encapsulates it
yeah,
in some beautiful way.
And everybody's story of how of their own path through it. I've really, really enjoyed reading all of these memoirs. Roni Stanley's wonderful book, Owsley and Me, the personal reminiscences of the band members, of course, the histories by people like Blair Jackson and Dennis McNally. But your story is so personal and so inside and so brilliantly told as well that I recommend it very highly to anybody who's interested in knowing who these people were and more than just what you saw from them on stage. Rosie's story is a really, really wonderful glimpse at who those people
thank
were
you.
in that incredibly magical time.
Yes,
So
indeed.
yeah, you can go to rosiemcgee.com, and it'll give you the gateway to how to get that book, how to get to my photo gallery, and it'll be a reminder about the Kickstarter, which, by the way, will end on November 15th. So if you want to order this book, that's the only way that you're going to be able to get the first printing. you have to go through a pre-order through the Kickstarter between now and November 15th.
Right.
So,
Now, one of the things about Kickstarter is that there's a level, we all have to participate in it, and it has to meet the goal in order for
oh,
Rosie
I
to get
forgot to say
funded.
that. Yeah.
So it's not only an opportunity to get in on something that you won't be able to get another way, but it's an opportunity to help make something really cool happen. I've already signed up at the 2 signed book level, and I just hope everybody will get in there on this and help make sure that it happens.
Thank
Because
you.
I guarantee you
Yeah.
the book is going to be worth your attention.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm gonna do it before I even turn my attention to the second set. How about that? And we're the last word we got is that we have 4 band members out there on stage.
We
So
still
we're
got a
getting
little
there.
bit of time. You got any
Yeah, but
questions?
that
Anything
that could be
new?
evolving.
Anything else? I'm here.
I don't
I'll
know.
answer questions. Oh, one of the Kickstarter rewards is kind of an oddball thing that I threw in there for the heck of it. And that's in addition to a book and a signed photo, you can have a 45-minute Ask Me Anything Zoom chat with me.
Oh,
And
that's
this,
Fantastic.
great.
I just thought, the other Kickstarters in the past before COVID has been, dinner with the creator, dinner with the person,
Right.
and that was always the highest level. But then COVID and travel and everything, I thought, well, everybody's Zooming, everybody's doing video chat, so. And people love to ask me questions. I mean, I did an
Yeah.
AMA for Reddit
Yeah.
recently, and there was just like a whole bunch of questions, and there's pretty much no question I won't answer. You know, like
Well,
That's a
that's
I don't
good
want to
too.
leave myself open for horrible ones, but
yeah.
anyway, I just
But you
thought I'd throw that in there.
Well,
You never know,
there's one thing that has come up. I've included your stories in my oral histories as well, and one of the things that
right?
comes up about those early days was the division of labor in the Grateful Dead tribe was sort of appeared to the outside eye to be sort of traditionally gender divisions, with the men having all the fun and the women doing all the work. I remember
That's
you had a
bullshit.
response that
That's
I
yeah, it's
wanted you to
BS.
reiterate.
Yeah, no, that's not the case. At least we didn't look at it that way at the time. Yeah, it's sure, but the band was doing the music, and the women were not doing the music. There was a reasonable division of labor, and yeah, we did the cooking, and then pretty soon they started having children and raising the kids and all of that. But especially in the first years where we were all living together, I mean, I lived with either all of or part of the band for 2.5 years at the very beginning. And of the
Wow.
4 years that I lived with Phil, 2.5 was with other people that were in the band. And it just, you know, yeah, we got to know each other pretty well. Let me just say that.
Listen, we have all 6 band members on stage, so
Okay.
we're going to get a lights out
Thank you guys.
signal
It's
any
been
second
great. And
now.
by the way, happy birthday, Bobby, tomorrow.
That's right.
And
That's
That's
John
right.
right.
Mayer's birthday also. They share a birthday.
Oh, okay.
And they
Well,
get
happy birthday to both of you. Thank you
and they
so
gave
much. This has been
and
fun.
they and they gave the boys a day off as a present. How nice of them.
That's right.
Anyway,
Cool.
Thank you again, Rosie. Great to
All
see
thanks,
you.
right.
Rosie.
Take care. Bye bye.
Be
Great to see you.
well. So now we go
All
back to
right.
BSing until they turn the lights off.
Now that we have 6 band members, we probably don't have too long to vamp. So great to see Rosie. Boy, I really recommend if people want to get one of the premium levels on the Kickstarter, go for that Zoom, because this is a woman with great stories to tell, and she tells
I
them
am here
so
to tell
beautifully.
you.
So, yeah.
I have done formal interviews, recorded interviews with her for various books, and I've had her on the radio a number of times. She is full of great stories, and as you can tell, Very, very smart. Still has all her marbles despite all that tripping back in the day. And would be very, very good company for a virtual or a real in the flesh visit.
Yes.
So
When Rosie was,
again, we're in the middle of a
oh,
Dead
sorry.
and Company show. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, I resisted the temptation when Rosie said one of the rules the Grateful Dead had if you were on stage was don't trip on anything, and I didn't go for that straight line. I'm very proud to say, but anyway, yeah, she is a really wonderful storyteller. She's going to join us on Tales from the Golden Road this Sunday, isn't she?
I believe so. That's right.
All right, on Sirius XM, our other gig. So listen, you've gotten the spiel about nugs.net. If you've liked what you've seen here, if you like what you see in the second set, since you're watching the preview thereof, check out more at livedead.co, and you won't be sorry.
What he said. And there's also we I don't think we mentioned earlier that Nugsnet has teamed up with Sirius XM to create a particular subscription on Sirius XM that gives you access to large swaths of the Nugs.net library. So that's another permutation of all this stuff. Lights are out. Enjoy,
Lights.
people.
See you in a few days.